think this is, of all the differences in the Gospels, this is one of the most difficult one. In fact, it may be the most difficult one. So Alex made a good choice here. So what you have is in Matthew, you have they're in Bethlehem, and the angel tells Joseph, warns him of Herod trying to kill the baby, and so tells him to get up and flee to Egypt. And so they go, and then they're there. Most think it may be about 2 years, and then Herod the Great dies, and so the angel says it's safe to go back to Judea, and so, or to Israel. And so Joseph picks up his family, Mary and Jesus, and says, let's go back. And so they head back. Well, then they get into Israel, and they learn that Herod's son Archelaus is the one in that region that they were looking at. And Archelaus was brutal. He later got deposed by Augustus, taken out of his position because he was just unwise and brutal, and people were complaining about him. So Augustus removed him. But while he was there, Joseph feared him. And so the angel said, well, yeah, just go settle, and don't go there. And they end up going to Nazareth. So remember, they're taking off from Bethlehem and fleeing to Egypt. But when you look at Luke's account, they're in Bethlehem. And then when the days of purification were over, which is 40 days, then they go into Jerusalem to the temple. And there it is that Jesus is dedicated he's dedicated. And then they leave there and go to Nazareth. So it's like, well, that's not compatible with the timeline that we see in Matthew. So it's a difficult one. If I had to guess, I wouldn't harmonize this, but if I had to guess what's going on, I would say that Jesus was probably dedicated in the temple 40 days after his birth. Then they went back to Bethlehem, maybe because the census hadn't registered yet or whatever. And that's only about 30 miles. So, I mean, you could cover that in not a lot of time. It's not a long trip between Bethlehem to Jerusalem. So, they probably give birth maybe immediately once they get in Bethlehem. 40 days later, they go to Jerusalem, and then they go back to Bethlehem. And it's from there that Joseph gets warned by the angel to go to Egypt. And so they go, and they're already 30 miles in that direction. And I think to cross the Egyptian border was probably another 100 miles around that. So, and we don't know where they were in Egypt, but to cross over into Egypt, about another 100 miles. So I would guess that happened. And then I would just think that maybe Luke wasn't concerned. He wasn't interested in the flight to Egypt in that time there. So he just skips that and goes to, has them settle in Nazareth. That'd be my guess of what's going on. So I don't think the counts are easily harmonized. I think just some are focused on more events than others. That would be my guess, but it is a difficult one.
Yeah. So, and then you also have the issue of like when the wise men get there and all those sorts of things that kind of play alongside of the birth story. But it seems explainable. Now, not if you just match up the timelines, because correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't, the beginning of the birth stories and when they go to Egypt in Matthew, there's not really a timeline given, just kind of and then, right?
That's
it's
correct.
Not like, 40 days later they went to Egypt. It's just, it acts as if that's the next thing that happened, but that's not necessarily the next thing that happened.
Right.
Am I off there, or is that?
No, I think you're right. I don't see much of a timeline there in Bethlehem. So it's not a stretch. I don't think it would be a stretch to say that, they went from Bethlehem to Jerusalem and then back to Bethlehem before the flight to Egypt.
Yeah. So in this one, and then Dinesh will say, "Well, you're picking on a little thing that uh, nobody's ever heard about." So let's go here. I don't know if this is where he says that, but he kind of says that, and then he it seems like he lets his frustration get the best of him because he wants to talk about something else.